One of the most prominent characteristics of Shavuot is the universal minhag, custom, that men have to stay awake all night studying Torah. The Magen Avraham explains the reason for this minhag. Magen Avraham Norah Chaim Siman Tav Tzadik Dalit. Itav Zohar, the Kabbalah says, "Shechasidim harishonim hayu neorim kol halayla." The Hasidim will stay up the entire night, v'oskim b'Torah, and they will learn Torah. Ukvar nagur rov lomdim la'asot ken. Most people, that's what they do. They learn the entire night of Shavuot nowadays. Ve'efshar latet tam al pi pshuto, and I will explain to you in a very simple way. Lefi sheYisrael hayu yeshanim kol halayla v'utzach HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'ir otam. Am Yisrael was sleeping on that night, the night before Matan Torah, and Hashem had to come and wake them up. Just as is written in the Midrash, and therefore we have to rectify this. The Mishnah Berurah over there in Sifkatan Aleph says, it is written down in the Shulchan Aruch of the Arizal, you should know, that whoever doesn't sleep at all on that beautiful night of Shavuot, and he was mainly involved in studying Torah that night, he's got a guarantee that he's going to complete the year until the next Shavuot without experiencing any suffering. Now, this explanation of the Magen Avraham is apparently quite difficult to understand. How can we understand that such elevated people will fall asleep on the most important and transcendent occasion of their lives? We know that they were willing to accept the Torah to the extent that they accepted its loss even before knowing its content. They said, Na'aseh v'nishma. So why would they act in such an unenthusiastic way on the night of Matan Torah? Another thing we need to understand is, how does staying awake all night rectify their mistake? I mean, they missed the boat on that particular day, on that day of Matan Torah. And they had only one Matan Torah in history. We had only one chance to receive the Torah. They made their mistake on the most important event in Jewish history. So how is my Shavuot night 5,786 staying awake the whole night learning Torah? How's that going to fix what happened on that day? And a third question, and this is my favorite. If you think about it, a person who stays up on Shavuot actually studies for much less than if he sleeps normally and learns during the day. Let's do the cheshbon, let's make the calculation together. Those who stay awake throughout the night of Shavuot usually sleep a few hours on Erev Shavuot to gather strength. Then, after Shacharit, they have to go to sleep after eating the cheesecake, of course, in order to recover. And then they go back to sleep after the Yom Tov meal, after Sudat Yom Tov, because finally they had meat and wine. They go to sleep during the day, and the SHLUF, they sleep through the entire day because they're so tired because they stood up the whole night. So, for a maybe alevai, I hope, 5-hour all-nighter, they end up sacrificing 2 or 3 days of full regular learning? What's the logic? It doesn't make sense. These are my 3 questions for tonight. When you encounter such strong, obvious questions, 3 crystal clear, impressing questions, you're naturally forced to search for a master key. Something that can unlock the entire issue and explain what in the world is going on, what actually happened, and what exactly we are trying to rectify in the first place. So for that we have to open the Sefarim HaKadoshim, the holy books. The Sefarim HaKadoshim explain that the Jewish people went to sleep that night deliberately. That means that they did not fall asleep. They didn't simply fall asleep. They chose to go to sleep. They felt that they could reach a higher level of connection to Hashem in a state of sleep. And by the way, this fits a general principle. Whenever great people sinned, they had a seemingly valid reason for their actions. We adopt this approach regarding the greatest sins in the Torah, such as when Adam Rishon ate from the forbidden fruit, the worship of the golden calf, and the sin of the Meraglim, the spies. So then, what was behind their motivation to fall asleep that night? What was the Yetzirah that caused them to make the mistake and deliberately want to sleep on the most important night in history? The Jewish people clearly wanted to receive the Torah, as seen in Aseh V'Nishma. However, on a certain level, they may have felt overwhelmed. They realized that accepting the Torah means accepting responsibility, obligation, and constant growth. Even the Torah life is deeply fulfilling. It demands effort and struggle. And a person sometimes wants to escape effort. And one of the most common forms of escape is sleep. Sleep allows a person, at least temporarily, to disconnect from responsibility and difficulty, to run away from reality. In fact, Chazal tell us in the Gemara in Brachot, Daf Nun Zayin Amud Beit, page 57b, that sleep is 1/60 of death, which is the complete, ultimate, and permanent form of escaping the challenges a person faces in life. This is why people who experience pain or difficulty have a tendency to want to sleep more than their bodies actually need. This is in fact a manifestation of their desire to escape from the pain. Once you discover this master key, so then you realize how everything makes sense. And obviously we will answer all three questions. Based on this, we see that it is possible that on a certain level, the Jewish people were worried about the new responsibility they were soon going to acquire. Therefore, on a subconscious level, they sought to escape from the intimidating idea that receiving the Torah represented. And the desire to escape manifested itself in the desire to sleep. With this, I have answered the first question. Now let's go to the second question. How do we rectify what happened to them and what they messed up on the most important day? The minhag of staying awake the entire night learning Torah is a rectification of this terrible flaw, terrible mistake that they made. Why? Because remaining awake while we're tired, that demonstrates that we're willing to face the responsibilities and the challenges that accompany the fulfillment of the Torah. Yeah, of course it's hard to stay awake an entire night learning Torah. But realize that although fulfilling the Torah is not an easy task, it truly is the most rewarding and fulfilling path. And we're willing to do whatever it takes to show that. As much effort and sacrifice as we can show towards the most beautiful thing we have in life, which is Torah, and particularly learning Torah. Escaping from challenges does not provide real satisfaction. Rather, facing them is the only way to find true happiness in life. With this, I have answered the second question. And now let's answer the third question. You can learn more by going to sleep on Shavuot night. Well, obviously, if you do not stay awake on Shavuot, you could in theory learn Torah for many more hours on Shavuot. However, my Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz Shlita, the Rosh Yeshiva of Aish Torah in Jerusalem, he points out the mistake in this argument. If the goal of Shavuot were to learn as much Torah as possible, this claim would indeed be correct. And it would make sense to sleep at night and learn more during the day. However, this is not the purpose of the learning on the Shavuot night. Rather, the purpose is to study while demonstrating that we do in fact face the challenges and responsibilities that accompany the study of Torah, as difficult as it is. And with this, game over. We have answered the third question and obviously all three questions. We live in a world that I would call the GEZZZUNT world. People want to escape. People don't want to deal with their problems. People don't like to work. People don't like to exert themselves. They don't want to struggle. Instead, they look for any easy escape so they don't have to deal with their challenges. They don't want to confront the difficulties of life. People seek sleep and escape, hoping that the results will come on their own. They want everything to be easy, without having to struggle, sacrifice, exert themselves, or sweat, and even to pour out some tears. One must work hard and make sacrifices in order to achieve accomplishments in life. I'll give you another example. In our interpersonal relationships, how many times does it happen that you have a person or several people in your life with whom there are certain issues that need to be resolved? And instead of having the courage and humility to speak to that person or those people, in order to work out finally the wishy-washy issues in your relationship with them, you decide to avoid this person. You decide to ignore them, not greet them. You go to the supermarket, you see them in the aisle where you need to get something, you say, I don't need sugar anymore, I'll go to the next aisle. You go to shul, and you run to the next corner in the furthest place possible in order not to have to greet this person, not to wish him a good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, or Chag Sameach, a good Yontif. Wherever you meet them, even if you run into them at a wedding or event, you just walk to the other side of the hall just so you don't have even to say hello to him. That's called being immature. What are you gaining? What are you accomplishing? You're like an ostrich hiding its head in the ground thinking that everything's going to be fine, no one's going to find me. Learn to repair your interpersonal relationships. Don't be a little child. Grow up. Just to be silent and not to talk to that person, thinking that things will get sorted out by themselves, will get you nowhere. Go to the person and tell them sincerely. And you could take the time for this. Just say, I messed up, I apologize, I care about you, you're a special person, and I want to do everything possible to repair our relationship. Do you see? It took me less than 10 seconds to fix something that some people cannot fix even in 10 years. We have to approach people. We have to approach challenges. We have to approach life. And to go into it and grow through it and become better people. And make our lives into better lives. Nothing comes easy. But once you work hard and you struggle and you sacrifice and you go into those battles and you fight, you'll be surprised at how far you can get. Coach Ray from Hebrew Day. God should bless him. He should live and be well. Great friend of mine. A person that I admire a lot. So he shared with me an unbelievable speech from Aaron McKee, a famous basketball player. He used to play for the 76ers. This speech changed my life and my way of looking at different things in life. And it will change your life also. I quote, I had a conversation with a friend one day, and he was talking about family and life. And I asked him, how do you see your kids' future? And he said to me, my grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in the Mercedes. My grandson will be in a Ferrari, but my great-grandson would be walking again. So I asked him, why? Why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors. That's what Coach instilled in me and so many like me. The strength and courage of a warrior. The Jewish people are not people who slip through life. We're not cowards who run away. We're not ostriches that hide our heads. We are fighters. Passionate about facing the challenges of life and seeking solutions. That is the only way you will succeed in life. We stay awake on Shavuot to demonstrate that life is not about going to sleep. It's not about escaping. We are not part of that SHLUF GEZZUNT Welt. That sleeping well world. We fight. We exert ourselves. We make sacrifices. We face our struggles, our challenges, and our obstacles. And we overcome them and solve them like champions. As it should be. We learn how to deal with life and how to solve our problems. Rabotai, nothing great in life is achieved without difficulty. Any truly meaningful experience inevitably involves a great amount of hard work and sacrifice. This is especially true regarding the study of Torah and the fulfillment of Torah and the growth in our spiritual lives. The greatest geniuses would have failed in Torah study if they were not willing to invest tremendous effort into understanding the depths of Torah. Only those who were willing to push themselves beyond their limits experience the true pleasure of learning Torah and spiritual growth, and in this way they attain greatness. As we have seen, the purpose of staying awake all night on Shavuot is to instill in us the willingness to face head on the challenges that the Torah presents. By sacrificing sleep on this one night, we demonstrate that we have no desire to escape. Rather, we recognize that the only path to the true meaning of life is to confront difficulties directly and overcome them. We do not grow when things come easy. We grow when we face new challenges. The strongest people are not those who run from challenges, but those who are built through them. This Shavuot, I invite you to stay awake. If you will not stay awake the entire night learning Torah, at least try to stay awake in your life. Stop escaping. Start achieving. I invite you to grow. Aish, San Diego. Let's grow together. It will not be easy. But we will be the heroes who will make a difference in our Jewish history. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you for listening. Chag Shavuot Sameach. A good Yontif.